Los Angeles-based startup Hyperloop One is getting very close to testing its first actual Hyperloop. It just completed its develop test and announced a number of American locations to build Hyperloops. Futurism reports to us that, quote, the almost 500-meter long track is a full-scale testing site that will facilitate Hyperloop One's work on levitation, propulsion, vehicle control, and vacuum pressurization technologies as it prepares for its goal of a commercial launch. A completed test track marks a huge step for Hyperloop One, as it now has a working system that shows what the final version of these futuristic pods would look like. By now, pretty much everyone has heard of the Hyperloop, and it's definitely going to be a mode of transportation that the world is going to utilize in the future. Now, while that may be the case, there's still a lot of contrasting opinions with respect to when this form of technology is going to be mainstream. And while we can't predict the future, obviously, this test is going to mark a pretty huge milestone. Because if Hyperloop One nails this, they can proceed to the next phase of actually making one of these lines real. And this isn't just happening in America. I made a previous video about a month ago or so about a huge network of Hyperloops being planned in Europe. So it's going to be really interesting to see this whole thing proceed. But what's equally interesting, or even more interesting, is that the Hyperloop isn't going to be used just to transport humans. As futurism is about to tell us, it's also going to be used for transporting cargo. Hyperloop One hasn't just been hard at work in the US, but also Dubai, where it has plans for building a Hyperloop network meant to transport cargo. The Dubai plan features a Hyperloop transportation system that integrates full passenger and cargo capable pods that converge at specified terminals called, quote, Hyperloop portals. So as you can see, the Hyperloop isn't going to be confined to just one region of the world. Several cities around the world are planning connections between cities. And also, it's not going to be confined to just transporting humans. We're going to see cargo as well, which I think is going to dramatically change the way we trade. And this has apparently caught the interest of even President Trump. Now, there are several reasons for that, obviously, but I think it's partially due to Elon Musk being on the board of tech CEOs consulting the president. But who really knows? Now, I want to get to the planned routes in America. Quote, on April 4th, Hyperloop One held its Vision for America launch test in Washington, D.C., where they presented 11 proposed routes cutting across 35 U.S. cities. The 11 U.S. teams represent routes that would connect 35 metro areas and 83 million Americans. Las Vegas to Reno in 42 minutes. Chicago to Columbus in 29 minutes. Denver to Boulder in 5 minutes. So yeah, those are some pretty fast speeds. Columbus to Chicago in 29 minutes. There's a proposal in Canada to go from Toronto to Montreal. Same thing, roughly 29 minutes. This isn't going to just cut down travel cost. It's going to change the way we trade. It's going to change the way we live, because people will one day be able to live in one city and work in another and commute between cities the same way we commute from the suburbs to the inner city. So this is just the beginning, obviously. This big track test marks a pretty big milestone, like I mentioned earlier. And, you know, this just goes to show you, never doubt technology, never bet against it, because, you know, this thing's going to come. And personally, I think it's going to come quicker than most people realize. Futurism has a really good quote, which they end this article with, and I want to share it with you. Together with autonomous vehicles and flying cars, the Hyperloop will join the league of futuristic transportation methods that once seemed limited to the pages of science fiction, but are now closer than ever within our reach. So there you have it. Hyperloop One. One step closer to becoming a reality. Now, please like and subscribe to this channel if this is the type of content you're interested in. I try to post a few times a week about things that I think are fascinating and changing the world profoundly. And this type of story is an example of that. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please leave an insightful comment to enlighten me and other people watching this video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Later.